So let's break this down part two so I can explain this a little better. So, when you start going through your mind, from birth, you start living these memories. I think my first trauma, that I can remember is probably about 5. And I got invited to a Christian church camp. And it's called Rangers Jamboree. And it was a boys camp out thing. And one of the older boys took me into his tent and started to molest me and do things to me. And I'm like 5, so, I don't know what the fuck's going on. But that was my first trauma, just as an example. What would my second trauma be? My second most significant trauma. There's a lot of times in my life where I took too much drugs when I was a teenager or adolescent. Ended up in the ER getting catheterized by force. Very terrible things that are not pleasant to the human body and the mind, And so I'm sharing this as an example because this is not a comfortable exercise. There's a lot of visualizations and things you can do to put yourself in a pleasant state. However, this is the work. This is the work that we do to continue to put ourselves in the best internal states and the best states of mind and body and spirit so that we can achieve what we want to do in this life, so we can help other people, because that's what it's about. And, so going through this is unpleasant. However, in a concrete room, with no sunlight, this is where my mind was at. And so I started to relive all these traumas, and I started to think about things, and I started to gain, honestly, a deeper level of clarity in the most profound way possible. Because not only was I living my life forwards and backwards, I also began to try to look at my life through the eyes of other people. And I started to realize, equally, I guess you could say, more or less, I started to realize the good things that I had done to myself and others. And I started to see my own habits and patterns of self-destruction. I started to see my life through other people's eyes. I think that really fundamentally hit home for me, because as I started to do this meditation, I realized that there was a significant event in my life where I didn't get along with my father. And I had held in a lot of rage and hatred. My parents were getting divorced, and I went over there and I picked a fight with him and I finished it. That's all I got to say about that. I did that shit. I went over there and talked shit to him, said all sorts of disrespectful things. And now that I'm older, I can be like, wow, if my 15-year-old son came over, I won't be able to be I'd like to think that I could be peaceable and de-escalate that and not repeat that trauma. However, at the same time, honestly, for the first time in my life, I had empathy for my father, who I had victimized. I felt like I was victimized, and sometimes in the way that he'd take his stress out verbally, etc. And now I continued and perpetuated that violence. And I had a plan to go over there, antagonize him, get him in trouble, but I ended up finishing the fight in front of my grandma and my brothers. I traumatized my family as much as I traumatized myself. And so, this was honestly revolutionary for me, in the sense that, I started to realize more deeply through these meditations how, all my life it's been this narrative of me, not necessarily a victim. I won't say that. However, as an adolescent and growing up, I had to come to terms equally with what had been done upon to me. I had to come to terms with what I had done upon others, which included my family. And so for the first time at the age of 27 in a concrete room in prison, in a medium max hole with people screaming their ass off 18 hours a day, I realized wow, I did something. I did something here to contribute. And that doesn't absolve other parties of their actions or of what they did. However, in a sense, it liberates me, because now that right there allowed me to accelerate my healing. And even today, as I'm processing this with you, it's healing me now, because I'm able to grow as a person, realizing that, there's true power and recognition, not only of what we have received, but what we have given. And so it's very much, to me, something that I reflect on, because as time goes on and I'm on this path of healing and I'm seeking to heal, that healing extends for my family as well. And so, when I'm thinking about my hand and my participation, when I think about, my addiction and my past kind of states of mind I was in, this is no longer a mental narrative of, well, they put me in there, or I was abused and this and that, and this happened to me, so I do this. Honestly, that's some pussy shit. That's a cop-out. That's selfish. Okay? Like, to me, and this is what I truly believe, a solid, I'll just speak for men, okay? A solid man is going to be able to look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, have I traumatized other people? And if so, think about that. Think about the people that you traumatized, whether you wanted to or not, and do something about it. Maybe you don't have the capacity to reach out to them and, speak on that. I'm not going to say sorry. And honestly, people's definition of apology is twisted. To me, to truly apologize for traumatizing somebody is to make a living apology. That's where you become the essence of your apology. That's not being in a state of guilt or shame from day to day. What that means is that you take the situation and you grow from it. And if you're a man or, a powerful woman in your own right, you're going to take these situations where you traumatized yourself, number one, because traumatized people traumatize other people, hurting people hurt other people, right? You're gonna take the situations that you traumatized yourself with, and you're gonna take the situations that you traumatize others with, and you're gonna walk through this movie in your mind. You're gonna relive your life, and you're gonna think to yourself, wow, and equally so the healing, but look, the trauma. Think about these people that you traumatized, chief and foremost yourself, and live that apology every day. Like I said, it's not through guilt, it's not through shame. It's merely first by having an awareness, these thoughts, a recognition of the past, an honest look at the past. And with that, presencing that awareness in the present moment. And our breath is our anchor to the present moment. So we're going to presence ourselves in the present moment, and we're going to tell ourselves, look, I only have today to live that apology. I only have that day to keep my word to myself, to be a better person. Just by keeping the thought in your mind, like, I'm gonna be a better person, that's an apology. And each to their own. To each their own. I'm still working on making my amends. I'm doing this process of healing. But I wanted to share that with you, because this meditation is a gift. It was a gift to me from a dear friend, and in my mind. and this meditation showed me, I was able to grow so much and have so much more compassion and love, for others, like my dad, and also for myself. And through this compassion and love and building a bridge, by recognizing, that the decisions that I've made and the consequences thereof, through this bridge and creating these connections in my neural circuits and thinking about things with new perspectives in different ways, I've been able to come so far. My story doesn't end there in that cell. I had to suffer a lot, and I had to go through these cycles of suffering repeatedly. And now I'm at the point in my life where I realized this was a gift. Whether it was God gifting me, I was gifting myself. I'll just say God for simplicity, God. And if you're offended, comment me and tell me why. Honestly, I want to hear it. God spelled backwards is dog. Dogs are unconditionally loving. They'll always be your friend, always be by your side no matter what. So that's why I say God, creator, higher self. I can't always say for certain and make sense of the past, right? But when I put it in the context of my suffering and my story was ultimately to create the hero. I had to die to myself. I had to become the hero. So that's what I'm gonna talk about in my next video. But I just want to throw this out there, food for thought. So, if you made it this far and you get some on my videos, come on, like, subscribe, and share. I'm trying to do this because I want to give back, and I've suffered I've suffered a lot, but through the suffering and this pain, I've gained the greatest teachers, the greatest wisdom. And now my prayer is that I can deliver moments of clarity to my loved ones so that they can surpass the pain that I had to go through. With that being said, I hope you have a great night. Coach K, 2024, we're doing this for real.